Hello, Chain Gang, and welcome back to the 4 Chains Travel and the 4 Chains Travel Finance playlist. Now, this is not one of our normal videos. Normally, we have a video come out every Friday morning, and starting in May, that will switch to every Saturday morning. Actually, this camera that I'm filming this with was completely packed away. We are about to head to London, England for my dear mother's burial service. But in our communities, there's a lot of panic going on, a lot of talk in our Patreon community, Superfans Facebook, YouTube comments, all of that. And I really felt like this was a situation that justified unpacking everything and talking to it. Now, I do not want this to be a political video. I understand that Trump is somewhere in the title, but that doesn't mean that it is going to be political. I want this to be just practical facts, because Angie and I take a lot of pride in the fact that we answer every question on YouTube. We respond to every comment. It's the first thing we do in the morning. We do not get Facebook notifications and email notifications immediately, but we get alerts for YouTube. We try to respond right away, and we've never deleted a comment, and I sure hope that this video doesn't mean that we have to start doing so. So please, let's leave political opinions to the side and just deal with facts, because this is a very serious situation. People have worked very long for very long and hard to save money up for retirement. And in the last 2 days that the market is open, they have lost a lot of that. And when I say they, I don't want to compartmentalize me. I am going to show you, put a screenshot of our personal finances on Thursday. We lost $28,000, and Friday, yesterday, we lost over $50,000, and that is a lot of money for us. Now, financial health is always relative. Chris Rock says that great joke about how, Oprah's rich, but if Bill Gates woke up with Oprah's bank account, he would jump off a building. Everything is relative, and you may look at the screenshot, and it might be ill-advised for me to put our personal information out there, but it's sort of an obligation for retirement travelers. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, Angie and I are retirement travelers. We travel full-time, we record those experiences, we put it on this YouTube channel, and the nature of being retirement travelers, because it is such a financial situation, you sort of are obligated, and most people do, reveal their finances. So you may look at my finances and think, well, this guy doesn't have any money, why is he giving me advice? Or you might look at my finances and say, what is this guy complaining about? He's rich. It's all from your perspective. But the premise behind retirement travelers is that you sell everything. You sell your house, you sell your car, you sell your possessions, and you use the money for those sales, you invest it, and you use the income from those investments to finance a life of retiring and traveling full time. So I have taken a hit, you have taken a hit. That's the first point that I want to make, is that everybody is taking a hit on this situation. And I know that most people are watching at the beginning, so I want to talk about the most important point to follow when dealing with this situation, which is don't panic. Rich people, wealthy people, middle-class people, people struggling to get by, anybody who has any level of investments lost essentially the same percentage of their net worth or their net investments. The difference is that rich people are not panicking, because it might look on the news when you see these shots of all these people in Wall Street, and their hands in their heads, and they're all upset, and they have reason to be upset. But there's also the side to rich people knowing that, let's say they've lost 10% of their net worth. Well, if they're worth $10 billion, that's $1 billion, that's a lot, but they still have $9 billion to survive on, which they can. And For them, what this is about timing the bottom, figuring out how low their stocks are going to go. And then there's a great opportunity for rich people to buy these stocks and regain their net worth. Now, I know that's hard when you're looking at your bank account, but somebody in our community, somebody that we really like and makes a lot of good comments, just said, hey, I don't care. I can't sleep at night. I'm losing sleep. I'm selling all of the investments. I'm just going to keep it in cash and wait till this starts going back up, and then I'll reinvest it. I get that, but that's the difference between rich people and people like us. They don't have to do that, and sometimes we feel like we do. And I would understand if you lost sleep, but there is going to be an opportunity. Keep in mind, only 4 times, Friday the Dow was down over 2,000 points. Only 4 times has that ever happened in the history of the economy. All 4 of them were under Donald Trump. Now, I don't want this to get political. 3 of those 4 were in the previous administration. COVID had a lot to do with that, but all of the wealth that was lost in the economy from those previous 3 2,000-point drops were recovered during the Biden administration. Not saying Biden's the greatest. I'm just going to say this about my political leanings. 10% of people identified themselves as political independents. I'd say maybe 1% are. I'm one of those 1%. I have donated to Republicans, John Warner, Tom Davis, Bobby Jindal. I have donated to Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. My father was a Democratic politician, but my father is also the guy who on the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, they had an episode. It was about how scared Bill Clinton was that my dad was going to beat the hell out of him, which is what he threatened to do. So my dad's kind of a different Democrat, but I voted for both sides and contributed to both sides. And by the way, Donald Trump as well. Donald Trump, for 75% of his life, voted Democratic. He voted and contributed to Bill Clinton. Both of those elections, he's contributed to Hillary Clinton before he ran against her.
And Hillary's a very smart woman, very tough woman. That's fine. But she's also a very nice person. And I know Hillary, and I know her husband very well. They're fine people.
And he invited them to his probably more than one of his weddings. So, the independents are rare, but they're out there. But my whole point is Donald Trump is like a different category. So it's not political. It's just what's happening now. So number 1 is don't panic, because the Dow went down during the Great Depression. The Dow went down during COVID. The Dow went down during, certain presidential administrations. But the Dow has always recovered. And the overall stream, we'll put a graphic up here, is always up. So are we going to recover however much we lose out of the economy? And just Thursday and Friday combined, we lost $6 trillion in wealth. I am telling you, all of that wealth will be recovered. If Donald Trump's administration loses an amount of stocks that the economy can't eventually recover, that will be something that has never happened before. And I don't believe that is going to happen. There is only a certain amount of time that that his party is going to tolerate these things, or it's actually going to work. Now, let's talk about the tariffs that have hurt most of all. So we're imposing tariffs, and for people that aren't educated financially, they might think, hey, that's great. I don't like the fact that we have a trade deficit with all these countries, so we're going to impose a tariff and we'll even that out, and that will be better for American jobs and the American economy. The problem is that there's several problems with that particular issue, and there are some things that could work out about them. Let me first talk about the problems, which is that we can impose a tariff, say, on China, and China can just reimpose a further tariff on us, and so it's like mutually assured destruction, and then it keeps going. A way that could work out, theoretically on paper, is that Trump says, hey, wait a minute, I'll agree, we can drop those tariffs on each other if you sell TikTok to an American company, because TikTok, that's another issue, is a big security issue. The last I heard, Trump has issued them a 75 days to think about it. Right now, they ByteDance, the home company of TikTok, doesn't want to sell. But if this is a negotiating tactic, there is a way on paper where this could wind up working out. Historically, these tariffs have not worked out and been a benefit, but there is a scenario where potentially they could. It's already happened where Trump has announced tariffs and then a country has given us some sort of concession and then Trump has pulled back the tariffs. I'm not saying in the end we're going to be like, oh, I'm so glad he did those tariffs, but I'm saying there are two sides to this. And you should be rest assured that if the tariffs don't work out and Trump feels like he can't go back on them, that during the midterm elections, it's going to be very difficult for Republicans. And then the Republicans will start to push back on that once it becomes bad for them personally and they're in danger of losing re-election. That would make for a very long 2 years from now until the midterms, but let's see how that works out. But regardless, the American economy always jumps back. It always do. Something about the strength of how we're situated allows us to recover for these things, and I honestly think that we're going to recover from them. Now, that being said, I don't want to seem like a Trump apologist. Our finances did worse under the first Trump's presidency than any other Republican or Democratic presidency. And I was prepared to do things in this economy. And some of you in our community, we've already had discussions about this, but I met, as soon as Trump was elected, which I very much expected him to be, I met with our financial advisor for 2 hours and we talked about what we were going to do. And I'm not a financial advisor myself, so I'm just telling you what I did personally. Number one, I switched to something that I haven't done ever, which is certificates of deposits. I sold stocks that had either been good growth stocks or had provided me with double-digit dividends. And I sold some of those because I wanted to know that if the worst case scenario happens economically in the Trump administration, and some of you may be saying, hey, we're at the worst case scenario. Okay, fine. I know that I need a certain amount of money to finance my life in retirement. So what I did was I set up a bunch of CDs to mature, guaranteed interest rates, and they weren't that great. They averaged about 4.3% interest, but I was automatically going to get there when they mature. So we know the days that we purchase our airfare, our hotel, that we're planning for specific years. We know when we're going to need that cash available on hand. So I have 4 CDs set up, and no matter what happens to stocks, they are going to mature at that amount. So that's something that if Trump wouldn't have been elected, I would not have considered, but he was, and so I dove right into him. I have to have a certain amount of guaranteed income, so maybe that's something that you should think about. And then the second thing is, just because I sold some dividend stocks, I didn't sell other dividend stocks. So what I am doing is looking at all of my dividend stocks, and I don't have notes here, but I will flash up some of them so you can see. And what I'm looking for are companies that are profitable and that the tariffs are unlikely directly or indirectly to hurt their finances. And so even if the stock goes down, because in this kind of economy, all the stocks go down regardless of merit, if they go down, that's just going to increase the percentage of the dividend, because with dividend stocks, the only thing that matters is how much money is that stock making, and they have to pay out those dividends to you. So the price of the stock might go down, but if you're not selling it, it doesn't matter, and those dividends are still going to pay out just at a higher percentage, but at the same dollar amount you would have earned. And speaking of losses, that's something to understand. It's particularly relevant with dividend stocks, which I have no plans on selling, but these losses, They are only losses if you sell the stocks. If you sell the stock, you are taking a loss. If you don't sell the stock, it's not a loss, particularly if it's paying out a dividend. So you should think of it as that. Now, the importance that you lay in sleeping at night, I understand that. I don't want to pick on anybody's particular view, but that is just a fact. It is very scary to hold on to stocks as they drop, but I would cherry pick the stocks that you sell, like I did when I bought those CDs for you to sell, because some of them might not be hurt. Now, earlier I said directly or indirectly. One of the people suggested in our community, hey, we should buy American car companies. The problem with that is, even if it is an American company, they are taking huge hits in their stock price. Why? Well, because a lot of the parts that they purchase, they are purchasing foreign car parts, even if the actual car is being built in the US or the company is built in the US. Also, all of the major American car companies have factories overseas, and if they have to leave those factories dormant or lay off people in those factories or completely close those factories overseas, that is going to hurt that stock. So don't necessarily think, oh, this is great for American companies, I'm just going to invest in all American companies. Do a deep dive. Talk to your financial advisor, as I did. Like I said, I met with him for 2 hours right after Trump got elected. I met with him for 2 hours 2 days ago, and we set up a plan. That plan did not save me from losing over $50,000 yesterday, but in the long run, even though I'm upset at the amount of money that I've lost, I am able to sleep at night because I understand the history of how the American economy works, and the American economy is very, very likely to get out of this particular situation. So don't panic. Look for dividend stocks. Take a step back and play chess. Don't play checkers. And those are my 3 pieces of advice. Now, let's make this a community. If you have a stock or a mutual fund or a CD or anything that you think is a good hedge against what's going on now in the economy, let that be known in the comments. I want this video to prompt a discussion, just not a political discussion. If you want to say a fact, if you want to say that, Trump had 6 of Trump's companies went bankrupt, that's a fact. You can certainly do that. That was part of the reason why I before he took office, I met to plan, because I personally don't think that he is a particularly good businessman, but I'm open to the fact that that these strategies there is a scenario, it's not the most likely scenario, but that they will wind up playing out in a positive or certainly less damaging way in the future. You can say that. I just don't want a lot of people name calling liberals or people name calling conservatives in the comments. Let's make this. Money has no gender. Money has no political affiliation. We need money to finance our retirement and in my case, our retirement travel. And so let's do that. In terms of, we also have a video that I will link for this on how we have a couple videos focusing on this, but how you afford to travel full time. And it's about more than selling everything and making those investments. So a lot of people have been laid off. I know, obviously, a lot of federal, our home base is Washington, D.C. A lot of people around here that we know and care about have lost their jobs. I used to work for Domino's Pizza. They have had huge layoffs in their industry. A lot of industries have had huge layoffs because the finances of those companies can't support these staffing levels. And so a lot of people might be looking at retirement travel or other forms of travel. So we will have those we'll link, you can link one of those videos in the description under related, but also the whole channel of 4Chains Travel Finance you can look at. And if you want to talk more about this, we are headed to London, but we can make another video over that. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to get through this. I know that we can. Let's be a community of strength, and thank you very much.